Hi, my name is Tammy Coyne, and today my topic is called The Light Under the Shroud. Thank you so much for watching. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to ask you to close your eyes for just a moment and take a couple of deep breaths. I need it. I thought maybe you could too, and that way we can arrive here together at the same time. All right, you ready? Close your eyes. Deep breath in. Let it out slowly. Another deep breath in. Let it out slowly. Well, let's go for 3. Deep breath in. Let it out slowly. Thank you. I invite you to open your eyes and be with me for the next little while as I talk to you a little bit about the light under the shroud. What is a shroud? Well, that's a pretty dark term. It can be. It's actually a type of cloth that is used in some cultures in burials. So the first part of my talk is going to be just a little bit about my burial. My burial that hid my light. As you know, we are all born, or maybe you don't know, we're all born with a light, an incredible, bright, beautiful light. Sometimes life kicks the hell out of us, you know? Do you know what I mean by that? In my own life, it has been filled with so much trauma, so much abuse, so much loss, so many scary things. Scary enough sometimes that I was in fear for my life. Scary enough that I've lived in hiding for a while. Scary enough, I've been almost homeless recently. Scary enough, I've been told I would die several times. Scary enough and depressing enough that with every event, with every sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, tragic deaths, terrorist attacks, natural disasters, teen pregnancy, morbid obesity, you name it, the burial started early in my life. Sometimes to the point I couldn't breathe. Sometimes to the point I didn't believe I had any light left at all, that it was snuffed out. The reality was, it wasn't. It was buried under a shroud. Again, my name is Tammy Coyne. My business is The Doors of Wellness, and you will find as we go, there is a whole lot to the journey. The next part of this is to tell you a little bit about turning points in my life that helped me come out from under the shroud. First of all, I have had some very interesting spirit animals in my life. I didn't know that's what they were at the time. You may be wondering what that is now. But an animal that has showed up throughout my life has been a butterfly. While butterflies are beautiful, we often really don't pay attention to what that butterfly went through to get to the beauty. We often delight in the beauty of the butterfly without recognizing the struggle it went through to get there. That is a paraphrase quote from Maya Angelou. For me, butterflies mean growth, expansion. They are also a lot like a phoenix, and they rise from the dead, essentially. They're in a cocoon, a lot like a shroud, wouldn't you say? Another spirit animal, this one's gross. It's a cockroach. And I made a joke about it one time, and I thought, are you kidding me? Could my spirit animal really be a cockroach? I mean, that's just gross, right? So what do you know about those little suckers? You can't kill them. I mean, they just keep coming. They're like some weird prehistoric thing. Yeah, they've showed up in my life many times. And I think it was another sign for me. That girl, there's another sign. Nothing's going to kill you. You may think it's going to kill you, but it's not, because you're tough and you're going to make it. The last animal is hard for me to talk about, and I'm going to try to get through it without tears. And it's a parakeet. A parakeet was only in my life for a short period of time. Her name was Sunshine. And she was yellow. And she was beautiful. And she said things like, "Hi, Tammy, I love you. Give me a kiss." And she would kiss me right on the cheek. During my life, I lived under kind of a mind control, traumatic, abusive situation, my early life. And it had started to take away my voice. You know, you don't speak unless you're spoken to. And I could barely say my name if I was called upon, because my eyes would fill with tears and my throat would close off. This little bird loved me. And one night, in a very abusive, violent act, she was pulled out of her cage by another person who was my caretaker. Her head was pulled off. And her head and her body were rubbed all over the front of my clothes. Maya Angelou also talks about the cage bird sings. That night, I lost little Sunshine, and I found a voice. I was 16. And I did something that night to save my life and my sister's life. And we, ended up going into hiding after that for several months. And I didn't realize that little Sunshine was my light, was part of my light. That felt like it had been snuffed out. Oh, that's just one of many stories. And I apologize for the graphic nature of that story. I didn't want to tell that today. Apparently, Spirit had other ideas, because it is not written on my notes. That is just one story to tell you that I'm here in front of you today. I'm strong. I'm powerful. I have risen from the dead more than once, metaphorically and physically. In 2010, I was rushed to the emergency room, diagnosed with a severe bowel obstruction and intussusception. That means my intestines had telescoped into themselves and had begun to die. There was gangrene already in my intestines, and I almost didn't make it that night. So why? why am I telling you about these things? You know, God. Those are just a few of the stories. There are so many. At times I have thought, seriously? Am I being punished for this life? Is there nothing? Is there nothing that I can find to make this stop? Make this pain stop? Usually, just one event doesn't bury us. Usually it's a series. And sometimes we feel punished, but we're not. That's what else I've learned on this journey. It's the deeper the holes you climb out of, the bigger your purpose. Who knew the depth and breadth of my purpose? The little girl who shook when somebody spoke to her. Who knew what was coming? Some of the other turning points, as I've told you about some of these, is my dad, who I loved very much, who was also a very violent man, as I've described, was killed when he was 33 years old. 33 is very significant. Later, my first husband, my first everything, the father of my children, was also killed in a car accident at 33 years old. I thought I'd been through hard stuff in my life, but the hardest thing I'd ever been through was giving the news to my children that their daddy was never coming home, because I had been a little girl and knew what that pain felt like, and now I was having to give it to my own kids. Other turning points came with diagnoses. 38, I was diagnosed with emphysema and told I was going to die if I didn't quit smoking. I was a heavy smoker. So I had the choice of going ahead and leaving my children with no parents or quitting smoking, which was the main coping skill I had. I quit. I ended up gaining almost 150 pounds within a year after that and became morbidly obese. These are all turning points in my life. Now I want to tell you about some growth. As a 17-year-old teen mom, I went through natural childbirth in December so that I could graduate midterm in January. Because I didn't want to go back to the high school with other girls, I was a mama. At 38 years old, I finished a bachelor's degree. At 44 years old, I finished a master's degree in human relations counseling. At 51 years old, I became a mind-body wellness practitioner with certifications in transformational life coaching, transpersonal hypnotherapy, and holistic nutrition. I am an essential oils wellness advocate. I read cards. I read toes. I do all kinds of things. Guess what else? I'm a speaker. Can you believe it? That little girl that couldn't say her name, she's now a speaker. She's also a writer, and she is a co-author. So what is all this to tell you? This is to tell you about growth. This is to tell you that one day I said, you know what? It stops with me. And I broke the family secrets at 16 and went to counseling for the first time. Later on, I made the other choices that I told you that I made. Then I became fascinated with Dr. Wayne Dyer and read the book, Excuses Be Gone. I didn't just read it, I listened to it, I read it, and I listened to it again. And I was like, you know what? It stops here. How do I grow? I stepped out on a limb and I went to a mindfulness meditation class for the first time ever, not knowing what to expect. I was scared to death. Nobody I knew did stuff like that. Growth. It's all growth. Then there was the spiritual awakening that happened in 2014 that said to me, Tammy, you are to be an internationally known speaker, author, master teacher, and healer. You are to inspire, motivate, empower, and transform the lives of others using the stories of your life. And I was like, are you kidding me right now with that? Me? It's all started to happen because I started to see patterns in my life. I started to see synchronicities, and I knew no matter what had tried to bury me, I was strong. You know what else I learned is that you teach what you need. I looked and looked and looked for somebody that could help me through my journey, and I had some teachers. I had lots of teachers along the way, but there wasn't just one. I was tired of retelling my story. I was tired of never getting my story heard. So I became the practitioner I could never find for you. I want to ask you, have you ever found yourself feeling buried alive? Feeling buried under a shroud that you felt like you were never going to get out from under? Have you? You weren't being punished. You were being trained. And that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when we're right in it. You are being prepared for your purpose. Sometimes we can't see that. Have you ever felt yourself in uncharted waters? In a little tiny boat in the middle of a big storm, and felt like the only oar you had, I'm from Oklahoma, so forgive that pronunciation. The only oar that you had was a teaspoon. Can you visualize that? That's been my life. I get you. Think about that. You ever just wish you could find somebody to help you navigate? The other question I want to ask you, and this was asked of me a long time ago, if you wrote a list of your, say, top 5 most important people in your life, where are you? I had a counselor that had me make this list once upon a time, and I didn't understand that I even needed to be on the list. That's been a challenge. How big of a priority are you on your to-do list? Think about that. Have you found a way to give yourself the love that you give to everyone else? I've had 2 blood transfusions. I know what it's like to bleed yourself dry for other people and give nothing to you. You know what one of my gifts is? One of my gifts is seeing synchronicities. One of my gifts is seeing in other people what they can't see in themselves. My gift was being put through hell, was being buried under a shroud, so that I could learn the lessons, and not only learn them from a book, learn them from an audio. I got this experiential version that said, you know what, sister? You were here for a big damn purpose. So I'm going to put you through all these experiences, not so you can cover up and cry a river, but I've cried many rivers. But it was so I could feel. So I could feel what you're feeling. So I could hear you. You know why you tell those stories over and over again and people say don't get stuck in your story? Because nobody ever heard your actual story. You've been crying out for somebody to hear you. You have been looking at yourself through such a distorted mirror for so long, you don't even see yourself clearly anymore. That's what I do. I help. I help with that. Before I go, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes again. Sometimes we live in a world where we don't have a sacred space outside of ourselves. I can teach you how to create one, but for now, I'm going to show you how to find mine, and I'm going to let you in. If you would, please close your eyes. Imagine the clouds up above you. The ones maybe if you've ever flown in a plane that you fly above them. For me, they look like heaven. Big, fluffy clouds of heaven, where no one can touch me, no one can hurt me, no one can see me. Can you imagine it? Just imagine yourself there. Now, imagine the sun, this bright, beautiful light, enveloping you, not in a shroud, but in light. Can you see it? That's your light. And girl, it is so bright, you gotta wear shades to look at you. That's what I want you to know. That's what I want you to remember. I didn't go through all this for nothing. I went through it for you. So I could help you. My name is Tammy Coyne. I've been called a type A hippie. I've been called a Mad Hatter. I've been called a dream maker. I've been called, well, I have a third grade boy sense of humor. I am a master sailor because I can navigate any storms. And I will tell you what, you do not get to be a skilled sailor by sailing on calm seas. My business is the Doors of Wellness, because there's not just one door of wellness, there are many. And I have keys. I can help. The website is thedoorsofwellness.com. On that website, if you'd like to work with me further, I offer you a 30-minute free consultation. There's a button on there. Push the button. You'll get my schedule. And that gives us an opportunity to see if we're a good fit. Am I right for you? Are you right for me? I'm hardcore, and I only work with people who are ready to get serious. They need some help. They're ready. They know they have a purpose, but they don't know what it is. That's what I do. I help you. Now, here's a secret. You remember I told you how 33 is really important to me because of those things that happen in my life? 333 is an angel number. It is the Trinity. It is connected to the Holy Trinity and said to be connected to Jesus, who died at 33. Just like my dad, just like my first husband. So, if for anyone who schedules a 30-minute consultation, you can do that at any time. But for the purposes of this presentation, if you schedule that consultation and you let me know that you saw this video, I will give you one session for $33 or 3 sessions for $99. I normally charge $249 a session. Don't let money be the reason why you can't get the help you need. Maybe $33 is too much, I get that. If you don't have $33, it might as well be $1 million. I have other options that I can help you with that are at no charge or less charge, and I often do things that are pay what you will, whatever that looks like. Sometimes it's a quarter, sometimes it's $5, sometimes it's $100, whatever. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm here to say the light under the shroud just gets brighter. It doesn't go out. Peace out. Namaste. Tammy Coyne, The Doors of Wellness, sending my heart to yours.